January 2020, Detroit, Michigan. Robert Williams is in his front yard playing with his daughters. A police car pulls up. Officers step out. They tell him he's under arrest for larceny. His daughters watch as their father is handcuffed in front of them. Robert Williams spent 30 hours in a jail cell for a crime he didn't commit. The evidence against him? A facial recognition algorithm that couldn't tell Black faces apart. This is the story of how AI learned to be racist and what we're going to do about it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Dede Tetsubayashi, and this Black History Month, we're going to be talking about something that affects every single Black person in America, whether you know it or not: artificial intelligence. Now, before you click away thinking this is some dry tech video, stay with me, because this isn't about code. It's about justice. It's about who gets to be seen as fully human. And it's about a $200 million framework that can fix this. If you're new here, I'm an AI governance expert with over 25 years of experience at the intersection of technology and social justice. I've worked with Fortune 500 companies, testified before regulatory bodies, and I gave a TEDx talk on this exact topic, which I'll link in the description. But more importantly, I'm a Black woman who has felt what it's like to be invisible to systems that were supposed to serve me. So let's get into it. If you find this valuable, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss the rest of the series. And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. I read every single one. The cases. Let me tell you about 3 men whose lives were upended by an algorithm. The first, Robert Williams, January 2020. Robert is a 42-year-old Black man living in a Detroit suburb. He works at an automotive supply company. He coaches Little League. He's a regular guy. One day, he gets a call from the Detroit police telling him to turn himself in. He thinks it's a prank. It's not. Police show up at his house, in front of his wife, in front of his young daughters. They arrest him. At the station, a detective slides a photo across the table, a grainy surveillance image from a shoplifting incident at a Shinola watch store. "Is this you?" the detective asks. Robert looks at it and says, "I hope you don't think all Black people look alike." The detective's response? "The computer says it's you." The computer was wrong. Robert Williams spent 30 hours in jail. He was detained overnight. His family had no idea what was happening, all because a facial recognition algorithm made a match that any human could see was incorrect. The second, Michael Oliver. Similar story, different city. Michael Oliver was accused of a crime based on facial recognition. He was detained, processed, and had to fight to prove his innocence. The third, Najir Parks. Najir was accused of shoplifting and trying to hit a police officer with a car in a town he'd never even visited. The algorithm matched his face to surveillance footage. He spent 10 days in jail and almost 3 years fighting the charges before they were dismissed. 3 Black men. 3 wrongful arrests. 3 lives disrupted. And these are just the cases we know about. How many more are sitting in jail right now because an algorithm couldn't see them accurately? Now, let's talk about the data, because this isn't anecdotal. This is systematic. In 2019, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, published a comprehensive study on facial recognition accuracy across demographic groups. What they found was damning. Facial recognition algorithms misidentify Black faces at rates 10 to 100 times higher than white faces. Let me say that again. 10 to 100 times higher. For Black women specifically, the error rates were even worse. But here's what most people don't know. This research didn't come out of nowhere. Years before the NIST study, 2 Black women researchers were doing groundbreaking work that would expose this problem. The first, Joy Buolamwini, a researcher at MIT, discovered the bias when facial recognition software couldn't detect her own face. Not until she put on a white mask. She partnered with Dr. Timnit Gebru, and together they published the Gender Shades study in 2018. They tested not only commercial facial recognition systems from Microsoft, they also tested IBM and Face++. The results? These systems had error rates of up to 34.7% for darker-skinned women, compared to less than 1% for lighter-skinned men. Let that sink in. The AI could barely see Black women. It saw white men almost perfectly. When 60 Minutes covered this story, they called the NIST study landmark. They barely mentioned the Black women researchers who had exposed the problem years earlier. This pattern, Black researchers doing the work, white institutions getting the credit, isn't just unfair. It shapes who gets funded, who gets hired, and whose frameworks become the industry standard. So, why does this keep happening? Is AI just racist? Well, no. AI doesn't have intentions, but AI does learn from data. And if that data reflects a racist society, the AI will reflect that racism right back. And there are 3 main reasons facial recognition fails Black faces. Number 1, training data that erases us. Most facial recognition systems were trained on data sets that dramatically overrepresented white faces, especially white male faces. When you teach an algorithm to recognize human using images that are 80% white, it learns that whiteness is the default. Everyone else becomes a deviation from the norm. The most famous data set used to train these systems, it was scraped from the internet without consent, and it skewed heavily towards certain demographics. Garbage in, garbage out. Number 2, development teams without us. Here's a statistic that should alarm you. In 2023, only about 5% of AI researchers at major tech companies were Black. For Black women, that number drops below 1%. When the people building these systems don't look like us, don't live our experiences, don't understand our communities, they don't catch the problems. They don't think to test for them. They don't prioritize fixing them. This isn't about bad intentions. It's about areas that we don't pay attention to. For example, blind spots, or areas that we don't focus on. These become baked into the technology that billions of people interact with every single day. Number 3, testing that ignores us. When companies test their AI systems, they often optimize for overall accuracy. If the system works for 95% of users, that's considered a success. But who's in that 5% where it fails? Black people, brown people, people with disabilities, people who don't fit the default the system was designed for. We're treated as edge cases, acceptable losses, collateral damage in the march toward technological progress. This isn't a bug. This is a feature of systems built by teams that didn't include us for users they assumed would look like them, tested on benchmarks that treated us as afterthoughts. The question isn't whether AI can be racist. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Now, I want to be clear. This problem goes far beyond facial recognition. Algorithmic bias is everywhere. Let me give you some examples. Healthcare. A widely used healthcare algorithm was found to systematically deprioritize Black patients for additional care, even when they were sicker than white patients. Why? The algorithm used healthcare spending as a proxy for health needs. But Black patients historically have less access to healthcare. So that means, yes, it means they spend less. The algorithm learned that Black patients need less care instead of that we spend less money. The result? Sick Black patients were denied the help they needed because an algorithm confused wealth with health. Hiring. Amazon built an AI recruiting tool to screen resumes. They had to scrap it when they discovered it was systematically downgrading resumes that included words like women's or the names of women's colleges. The system instead learned from Amazon's historical hiring data, which skewed male. It reproduced that bias at scale. Other studies have found that AI resume screeners penalize Black-sounding names and historically Black colleges and universities. Another area is lending. Credit scoring algorithms have been shown to charge Black and Latino borrowers higher interest rates than white borrowers with similar financial profiles. This is considered digital redlining, using AI to perpetuate the discriminatory practices of the past. Another is criminal justice. The COMPAS algorithm, used in bail and sentencing decisions across the country, was found by ProPublica to rate Black defendants as higher risk than white defendants who committed similar crimes. Black defendants who didn't go on to reoffend were mislabeled as high risk at nearly twice the rate of white defendants. This isn't a facial recognition problem. This is an AI problem. And as these systems are deployed in more and more high-stakes decisions, who gets a loan, who gets a job, who goes to jail, who gets medical care, the consequences of getting this wrong are catastrophic. Okay, I've told you the problem. Now, let me tell you the solution. After 25 years working on this, I've developed a framework that transforms how organizations approach AI governance. It's helped my clients achieve $200 million in cost savings, $500 million in new market access, and 95% compliance rates. But more importantly, it's helped them build technology that actually works for everyone. I call it the 4 principles of equitable AI. Principle 1, lead with curiosity. Challenge your assumptions. Audit your blind spots or spots where you're not paying enough attention, your weak areas. Ask who's missing from the room and from your data. Before you deploy any AI system, ask, how does this perform for Black users, for disabled users, for users who don't fit the default? And if you don't know, you're not ready to deploy. Principle 2, be accountable. Governance isn't a checkbox. It's an ongoing commitment with measurable outcomes. So when your AI fails someone, and it will, who's responsible? If you can't answer that question immediately and clearly, you're not ready to deploy. Principle 3, Solve for one person and then extend to many. This is what I call the curb cut effect. The curb cut was designed for wheelchair users, but it helps parents with strollers, travelers with suitcases, delivery workers with hand trucks. And when you design for your most constrained users, you build better products for everyone. Inclusive design isn't charity, it's smart business. And principle 4, take action. Good intentions without implementation are just complicity with extra steps. Set specific goals. Allocate real resources. Create accountability structures. Move with urgency because the people being harmed by bias AI can't wait for your next planning cycle. All of this isn't theoretical. Organizations using this framework are saving millions, unlocking new markets, and building technology that doesn't discriminate. The tools exist. The frameworks exist. The business case is overwhelming. What's needed now is will. So, what can you do? If you're a tech leader, audit your AI systems for bias. Test across demographic groups. Diversify your teams. Implement accountability structures. If you need help, that's literally what I do. Link to book a free strategy session is in the description. If you're a professional in any field, ask questions about the AI systems your organization uses. Who built them? How were they tested? Who's accountable when they fail? Your voice matters. And if you're anyone who uses technology, know that these systems are shaping your life in ways that you may not see. Advocate for transparency. Support organizations doing this work. Share videos like this one so more people understand what's at stake. Robert Williams is still fighting for justice. So is Michael Oliver. So is Najir Parks. They're fighting not just for themselves, but for every single Black person who might be the next victim of an algorithm that can't see them. This Black History Month, let's honor the legacy of those who fought for justice by continuing that fight in the digital age. You've been coded out. Let's code you back in. If you found this valuable, please hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who needs to see it. The more people who understand this problem, the faster we can fix it. So drop a comment below. Have you experienced AI bias? Have you seen it in your organization? I want to hear from you. Also, check out my TEDx talk for an even deeper dive. I'll link it in the description and in the card right here. And if you're an organization that wants to get this right, book a free strategy session. Let's build AI that works for everyone. I'm Dr. Dede, and I'll see you in the next video.